All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? How's it going? It's Els here. Um, Glad to have you back. Sorry it's took me so long to make this video, but this is going to be part 2 of my how-to series for Stamblade Nightblade. Wanted to really dive into this stuff, go into it more in depth. The reason this took so long is because I wanted to make sure I had everything covered. Wanted to have all of my I's dotted, my T's crossed, yada, 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 and then just logistically setting it up and having somebody help me out. So I wanted to basically talk about the class in general. I wanted to talk about the pros and cons of each class, you know, what we have working for us, what we don't, and then how we're going to apply that as it gets to the battlefield. So before I do all that in this video, I want to give a huge shout out to my buddy here, Loudpack. He is a Magic Templar. I've been playing with him for a year now, a couple years now. Good buddy that came and helped me out, basically wanted to go through the combos, kind of help me get this stuff set up for you guys. So thank you. Appreciate that a lot. When we go into this, we're going to discuss the pros and cons, and then we're going to discuss, you know, how everything else works. So first of all, we're going to discuss Magplar pros. In general, these are just my top 4 or 5, but they have high survivability. Regardless of whether they wear light or heavy, they are very tanky. They have some of the best survivability in the game, especially due to their burst heal. I'm sure you guys have fought Magplars, or you've seen it in your group where you just see a Magplar. Their health is yo-yoing from 5% to 100% because that's how strong burst breath of life is. You know, they're able to stay alive because of how strong breath of life is, and it makes their survivability go through the roof. They're able to purify dots up to 5 at a time. It makes some dot builds ineffective. It all depends on how many debuffs you have on them and how good they are. Dots are still effective in general versus most people, but a good Magplar, a well-played Magplar, it's very tough to have damage over time effects ticking on them all the time. So that's just one of the strengths of the class. They have good burst damage, typically with Purifying Light, sometimes with their ultimate. It all kind of depends on how it stacks, but typically how a Magplar really gets their burst combo off is they put Purifying Light on, they put their dots on, they hit with their ultimate, Purifying Light, that explodes, it copies the damage done, and then that's their burst. So they do have good burst damage. They have good dot damage. Reflective Light is very solid. And then they have a ranged execute that is also undodgeable. It's getting buffed next patch. It's not as strong this patch as it was 6-8 months ago, so they're bringing it up a little bit. So be wary of that. As far as the cons go for the class, they're kind of a slow class in general. I know there are some speed builds, especially there are a few guys out there that watch my videos that they are running a very fast Magic Templar build. But in general, 95, 96, 97, hell, 99% of Magplars, they're very slow. It's a very upright playstyle. You want to kind of conserve your stam. It's not very jukey, like you take all the damage. You build your class to be tanky in general. Or if you're not tanky, you build your class to have a ton of heal over time effects so that your survivability is still very high. So either way, either you're tanky due to your resistances or you're tanky due to your heals. It doesn't really matter which way it is. That's just how they're built. This is the biggest one that we have to deal with when we're talking about Magplars. This is their biggest weakness. All of their burst combos you can block. So regardless of what they do, whether they use Soul Assault, whether they use Meteor or Dawnbreaker, if you're taking a bunch of damage, you can block it, and they can't do anything to break your block. Toppling Charge does not go through block. Neither does Javelin, and neither does the Vampire Stun. So although they have all these things going for them, they cannot break your block. And so typically the rule of thumb when you're fighting a Magic Templar is when you have Purifying Light on you, if you took a bunch of damage, block the Purifying Light explosion. If you didn't take a bunch of damage, don't block it because it doesn't really matter. But if somebody puts Purifying Light on you and they hit you with a Soul Assault, you better block the full Soul Assault and you better block the Purifying Light burst because that is what's going to put you at execute. So, in general, We can counter it a little bit. With Soul Assault, they do have some added benefits in that, they can affect multiple stat pools, which is very valuable. I'm going to talk about that quite a bit in this video. But class skills or classes that can affect multiple stat pools are very valuable in a 1v1 situation. And so although they don't, everything can be blocked, using an ultimate like Soul Assault not only forces us to heal and they can do a ton of damage to our health bar, it then also affects our stamina bar because we're blocking. And so oftentimes it's not the first Soul Assault that gets you when you're fighting a Magplar, it's the second or third one that gets you, because eventually you can't block. So maintaining stamina is going to be at a high priority when you're fighting a Magic Templar. And then in general, like I've talked about before, lack of good killing ultimate combos. They're all unblock, like you can block all their ultimates, and so it's not like a Magic-Asauric where you can just ruin them and then drop a meteor. It's not like a Stamina Nightblade where you can fear and incap. It's not like a Magicka DK where you can fossilize and then leap. You can't make, as a Magicka Templar, you can't make the person you're fighting eat your ultimate. And so it takes away a lot of your burst, which makes it a little bit harder to play sometimes. You have a lot of other pros, but that's the biggest weakness in my opinion. Now, on to the Nightblade pros. There's a million of them, but I'll just name the first four. The best single target burst in the game. They have Surprise Attack, which hits hard. It gives Major Fracture, which makes you hit harder. Yeah. They have a cheap Do-It-All Ultimate, which is Incapacitating Strike. Incapacitating Strike hits really hard. It's cheap. It causes Major Defile, and it causes you to do more damage for 6 seconds. And so that also coincides with best single target burst. And so you could just really put a lot of pressure on people as a Stamina Nightblade. Another really good pro. High survivability if we can use Cloak well. If we can't use, I'll talk about that in our cons, but if we can use Cloak well, we have some of the best survivability in the game. And a lot of people get really, really mad about Stam Nightblades for a good reason, because of how good Cloak can be sometimes. 4, we can also make our burst unblockable. And I've talked about this before, but this is just very valuable. When you have an ultimate that hits as hard as Incap does, we can always guarantee that our Incap goes unblocked. And so because of that, we will be affecting the health pool, and because of everything that Incap does, we also drain another pool. So because we're applying Major Defile, because we're applying Major Fracture, we're hitting 20% harder after we Incap, all those sorts of things. The classes that we're fighting, if we apply it correctly, they will either have to heal a lot with Vigor, or with their Magicka classes they'll have to apply wards. So it's, even if we don't kill them, that's how we drain their resources. So we drain their health pool, which then in turn causes them to heal up and then go on the defensive, which then causes them to drain their stamina. And because of fear, we can also drain their stamina. So we can affect multiple different pools as a Stamina Nightblade very, very well. Onto the cons. If we use Cloak poorly, we are squishy as fuck. That's just the way it is. We have a lot of builds or skills can render Cloak ineffective. You have Inner Light. You have Overwhelming, Mark, you have Pots, any AoE can pull you out of stealth. There are a lot of classes, Hurricane, there are a lot of classes that run AoEs or skills in general that if you're not careful, they can keep you locked down, they can keep you going into stealth to heal up, and then that makes you very squishy because a lot of Nightblades rely on stealth as their survivability. And so depending on who you fight depends on how useful you can use, or how useful Cloak will be. My buddy Loudpack here, I told him to put on his hardest hitting, cheesiest shit. When he fights me in these videos, he's running Grothdar and Overwhelming. Those are 2 Nightblade killers. Anytime I get close, I'm pulled out of stealth. And so this is going to be one of the worst case scenarios for Stam Nightblades to deal with, which is what I wanted to show you guys. 3. Healing is lacking compared to other Stam builds. In general, Wardens have a bunch of good heals. They can apply heal over times. They have access to major mending if they get to low health. They have a healing ultimate that gives them more ultimate, which then cause them to drop more healing ultimates. Sorks have crit surge, which may be more powerful. The way I've heard it, it's more powerful than major mending. So crit surge is a very strong skill depending on the build. Stam DKs have access to major mending. Stamplars have access to minor mending. As far as flat-based healing goes, Stam Nightblades have the least amount of healing. With like a skill like Leeching Strikes, that's made up for a little bit. Obviously, Leeching Strikes is very useful. It all depends on the build. You know, how many people are going to use it. I don't see a whole lot of people using Leeching Strikes, but that is a very useful skill that can make up for some of those losses. So that is available to us. On top of that, because our healing's low, damage over time effects can wreck us. You know, if we stay out of stealth for too long, they can really do a number on us, and they can really hurt us. Yeah, so those are the pros and cons. Wanted to go through that a little bit, discuss that for you guys, and then we're just going to dive into a couple of these pictures. Now, when you run across people, when you run across a group and you're 1vxing, you want to identify who you have to take out first. Now, typically the people you take out first are the low CP targets, or the guys that are just going to take a ton of damage that no matter how good the healer is, they're not going to be able to heal. The guys you can hit with 15, 16, 17k in caps. Typically Magicosaurus with their shields down, low level Stam Nightblades hitting snipe. Those are the guys you want to take out right away because they're going to do a lot of damage. You want to eliminate them first. You can potentially eliminate them without the healer doing anything. When those guys are gone, the next person you focus are the healers or the Templars. Templars are, you know, the next person on the 1vx list, and you have to, on the fly in a 1vx situation, kind of evaluate the build. And this is something I wanted to talk about a little bit before we dive into the clips again, is in a split second, you need to try and figure out what type of build the Magic Templar you're fighting is. Now, this exact clip or picture that I've showed you guys is what's been showed the entire time. He's wearing a skeleton polymorph. All we have to tell off of what he's running is the two weapons he has and his health. So he's got around 17k health outside of a duel. So he's got around 23k health. That could be a light armor build or that could be a heavy armor build. Typically, 25k plus health means heavy armor. Around 20k health means light. Most people, that's just the way it is. Like heavy armor passives gives you more health in general. Other things we can look at is what race is he? Is he an Argonian? If he's an Argonian, he may be more inclined to be a tank, you know, or a tanky healer. You know, Argonians have a little bit more health. So if we see somebody with higher health that's running an Argonian, we know they're not going to do as much damage as, say, like a Breton or a high elf. And so they might be built more to be tanky than they are to do damage. So we can adjust accordingly. He doesn't have a tail, so we can kind of rule that out. We see he's at lower health. We see he's got dual wield swords. More than likely he's a DPS build. But we don't have a ton of information. We don't know if he's in lighter and heavy, and that's just the way it is. If we look at the next picture, this is with him with his costume off, with his tabard on. Now we can kind of see what he's wearing. We can tell that he's wearing heavy armor. We can tell that he's wearing Grotthar. We now know that he's a heavy armor build. So Grotthar isn't something healers typically wear. If we see him wearing Chokethorn, we know that he's probably a healer and he's looking to, you know, heal the group. If he's wearing, you know, Bloodspawn or something like that, more than likely he's revolving around being tanky and survivability than dealing damage. Grotthar or Scoria are the tipping points for knowing who we're really focusing on and like who we have to take out. And so because we see Grotthar, we know that this is going to be a high priority for us. Now, you want to take out healers before you take out these guys, but that goes without saying. It's pretty easy to pick up on healers. If you see somebody with a Resto staff and sword and board, that typically means they're a healer. If they're running Resto and dual wield or sword and board and dual wield, they're probably a damage dealing class, you know, just rough guesstimates. But we know he's wearing Grotdar. This is just another thing where I wanted to talk about is how important it is to, currently in this patch, to wear a costume. You know, if he doesn't wear a costume, he's giving me free information as to what he's running, which allows me to make a better choice on who I'm going to attack in the group. You know, if I see his buddy who's wearing Grotdar and I can tell he's wearing light armor, I'm going to nuke the light armor guy wearing Grotdar compared to the heavy armor guy because he's going to be easier to kill. So until they change this next patch, when you can change your cost or your gear styles and everything, costumes are kind of a useful thing to have. It helps you hide what your build is. It helps them hide what their build is so that you can leave them guessing a little bit. So again, once again, another picture. This is him with one of his healing setups. You can see he's wearing Pirate Skeleton. You can see he's wearing Sword and Board. You know he's trying to be tanky with this style build, and so he's not as much of a threat offensively because of the gear that he's wearing. He's wearing a Resto Staff on his back bar, Sword and Board on his front bar. This is more than like a healing survivability build. So that's the gist of information we get before we even start fighting. And I know some of this might not be, you know, very interesting for you guys, but I wanted to cover all of it. This is as all inclusive as possible. So this next clip, I wanted to basically show you guys when you're fighting a Magic Templar, your playstyle basically is like the guy in the black shorts. You want to be fast. You want to be agile. You don't want to be hit. If you get hit, you die. And I'm just going to let this clip play. This is from the movie Bloodsport. If you don't like Bloodsport, you need to reevaluate, you know, what your priorities are in life. You're just wrong. So Bloodsport is the greatest movie of all time. I cannot be convinced otherwise. So yeah, you want to be kitey, you want to be flighty, you want to go in, you want to hit, you want to get out. If you stay in too long, you will get wrecked. So that's kind of the point of this clip. That's kind of the video version of what I'm talking about. So, all right. So anyways, that's the gist of what I was talking about. On to the clips. The first few clips I'm going to just basically discuss, you know, what we're looking at here, and you know, the first few are going to be how we're going to deal with damage, and the next few are going to be how we deal damage. And so we want to be able to play defensively before we play offensively. We can't kill anybody if we can't stay alive. And so this first clip is going to be a very basic combo. He's going to hit me with Purifying Light. He's going to hit me with his Vampire's Bane. Topple in. Hit his set of jabs. It's going to be a lot of damage because you're going to see his Grotdar and you're going to see his Overwhelming go off. And because of that, I have to block the Purifying Light. And so I'm going to block the Purifying Light, and then I'm going to dodge roll. I'm going to break the distance so that I can then cloak and then heal up and then get back into the fight. So that's the first one. Alright guys, this is going to be the most important part of this video if you get anything out of it. A lot of people cannot deal with Soul Assault. It is a very strong ultimate. It impacts our health bar and our stamina bar. So even if we deal with the first one pretty well, it's typically the second or third one that gets us. I want to show you guys the most efficient way to deal with it. It will be better next patch because they're reducing the block cost amount. But as a Stamina Nightblade, you want to block the Soul Assault, block Cast Vigor, and then cloak after 2 seconds so that you eliminate the beam on you. This will mitigate the amount of damage that it does to you. It mitigates the amount of stamina that it costs you, and it allows you to survive. So when you watch this fight, he's going to hit me with the full Soul Assault combo. I'm going to have to block the Purifying Light. I'm going to have to block the Soul Assault. When you're fighting this, like I said, it's typically not the first one that gets you, it's the next few. So if you're low on resources, you want to kind of stay in the shadows. You want to build your resources up so that if you get hit, you can deal with this. If you see your resources low and you're in there fighting, that's how you die against a Magplar. So block cast, pop Vigor, cloak. And you see it pulls me out of stealth right away because he's wearing Overwhelming, but I still was able to break the beam because of how cloak works. Alright guys, this next one will be your other combo that you're going to deal with against damage dealing builds. It's going to be a Meteor Dawnbreaker ult combo. Typically it's going to be Reflective Light, Purifying Light, couple sets of jabs, then ultimate. And if it's meteor, it'll be a couple seconds. You'll be able to predict it. Dawnbreaker's a little bit quicker, but it doesn't hit as hard. If you see meteor, if you see the meteor at your feet, you want to block, cast vigor, dodge roll, and then cloak. This is what the first video is for, to show you how to do all these things so that you guys just can commit it to muscle memory. As soon as you see this ultimate, that's what you want to do. So when we watch this fight, you know, we're gonna do our fake fight like we've been doing, and we're gonna dish out some damage, and then he's gonna hit me with the meteor combo, and I'm gonna show you exactly what we're gonna do. And we're gonna do our honor duel where we jump at the same time, because that's what cool people do. Go in, we fight. He drops the meteor. I want to block, vigor, dodge roll, and then I can cloak and I can get out. I can get the distance, and then I can stop more damage from coming in. You see, I cloaked there. Overwhelming pulled me out of stealth. I should have cloaked a little bit farther away, but still worked out. All right, guys, and finally we're on the last part of my video. It's how to deal damage. I'm going to show damage and how it's dealt from an offensive perspective using our ultimates. We want to be able to dish out a lot of damage quickly and effectively, especially when we're 1vxing. A wasted ultimate can waste a 1vx. The first thing I want to say is do not use your in cap early or poorly. A poorly timed in cap can ruin your potential 1vx. Like I said, it can ruin your potential to kill. You have to wait. You have to wait in order to get another ultimate back in order to use it correctly. So when you use your in cap, you want to use it when you're really putting pressure on the enemy. When they're at 60, 70, 40 to 70% health, depending on their health bar. You want to really focus on that in cap, either executing them or putting them in execute range. If you do it too early, like in this first clip, what's going to happen is their heal over time, they're just going to heal it back to full. What in cap does is it provides major defile, it does a ton of damage, and you do 20% more damage. So oftentimes against Magplars that I know where it's going to be a longer fight, I will use in cap early against them because I know that if I use it correctly, it's going to put a lot of pressure on them. It's going to drain their resources to where then the next time I hit them, it's going to put them on the defensive. And so I know it's not going to kill them, but it will put me in a position to kill them. So when you watch this clip, you will see that I don't fear at the right time. I don't in cap at the right time. I don't apply things. You want to hit with a couple of different light attack, surprise attack weaves. And when you see the health drop to 70, 60%, that's when you want to fear, and that's when you want to in cap. Because against the Magplar, and this is the part that I can't stress enough, you want to hit your in cap at a point to where they choose whether or not to purify and get the major defile off them, or spam Breath of Life just to stay alive. If you don't do that correctly, they will just Breath of Life back to full, or they will purify and Breath of Life because they'll have enough health to deal with it. So, yeah, that's the main point. And the opposite of the previous clip, guys, is this next clip. I'm going to put pressure on him correctly. I'm going to hit him with a fear. I'm going to in cap him, and I'm going to put pressure on his health bar to where either he purifies to get the debuffs off him, or he Breath of Life spams back to full. If he Breath of Life spams back to full, we have major defile. We cause him to drain a lot of resources that he wasn't expecting to drain, and then we can get him the next time we ult. Magplars aren't the easiest to kill, but this is just sometimes what we're going to have to do. So when you watch this little clip, this is kind of how you want to use your in cap against a Magplar. And a lot of people don't use fear correctly. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, sometimes fear doesn't exist for Nightblades anymore. But you want to jump in. You want to hit with your combos. He's going to jump in. We're going to fight. We're going to fear right here since we saw his health go low. And you see it dropped into 40%. And then we put him in a range to where we can finish him. All right, guys. And the final part of our how to finish a Templar off is going to be using our bow ultimate. Our final combination will be using the bow ultimate on our back bar. It is a very hard-hitting skill. It's our channeled cast time. We drop it down on the ground. We can ambush in. We can fear. Bow ultimate's very hard-hitting, and it allows us to finish people. It provides a lot of pressure on our opponent, and we can fear and ensure some of the damage goes unblocked. So what we're going to do is we will drop it, we will ambush in, we will fear, our bow ultimate will be going off, we'll use our light attack, surprise attack, bash combos to provide the most amount of burst after we fear. When we use this, we want to use our bow ultimate preferably after we have incapped a tanky Magplar, drained their resources to a point to where we could potentially completely drain their stand when we drop it. We don't want to use it early because they will just CC break, they'll block cast the entire channel, it won't do as much good to us. So this is kind of like an artistic, you have to kind of just know what the other person's stamina pool is. It doesn't always work out well. Magplars are tough to kill, but this is the best finishing blow that we're going to have against them. So I'm going to fight my buddy Loudpack here. We're going to fight for a little bit. After the first fear, I'm going to then drop my bow ultimate. But we're going to pretend like this is a much longer fight. I incapped and put pressure on him. I drained his magicka pool. I drained his stamina pool. He's low, and then I feared him. That's kind of the point of this video. So we're gonna hit it with a couple surprise attacks here. I feared him once, kind of stay in the fight a little bit, get the distance, heal up, cloak really quick, drop our bow ultimate, fear right here, and then we go back to our light attacks, surprise attack, bash combos. Obviously didn't work there because it's early on in the fight, but if we apply our stuff correctly and we put a lot of pressure on with each and every ultimate and we allow them to really do their work, we can put more pressure on our opponent, and then that makes the bow ultimate even more effective. But that's typically how I finish off Magplars, or how I've had to finish them off in the past. That's going to be the end of this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully it was as all-inclusive as I hope it is against one specific class. As you guys can tell, I want to cover this for every single class. So for those of you guys that watch my videos, if you guys want to help me out and you want to call dibs on a specific class and you play on Xbox, all I ask is that you provide some hard-hitting stuff, some hard-hitting meta stuff that I can kind of show how to survive. We're not actually going to duel. We're just going to take clips and we're going to hash some stuff together so I can show people how to deal with it on both ends. But if you want to be on my YouTube video, if you want to participate and like help people out, and that's what you want to do, let me know, and let's try and set up a day so I can get all these other videos posted out. Because as you can see, like, this is just Magplar. I have Stamblade. I have both Sorks, both Nightblades, both Wardens. I got a lot of information to post out. So thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you like this layout. Let me know if there's anything you want me to edit for the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.